Far from the bright lights of Hollywood, in a bustling corner of the city, there stood a small, unassuming theater where time seemed to stand still. Every evening, the same play, the same applause, the same tired faces. That night, Keanu Reeves, seeking inspiration for a new film project, stepped through the theater doors, disguised as just another audience member. He wore an old worn jacket, faded boots, and a hat pulled low over his eyes. His hair was disheveled, his beard grown out. He had done everything he could to blend into the crowd. No one could have predicted that this seemingly ordinary moment would be the beginning of something that would change not only the dusty stage of the theater, but also the life of Sarah, a young woman sitting at the box office, forever. Sarah's prejudiced gaze toward Keanu would blind her to the truth beneath his appearance, ultimately teaching her a costly lesson. Yet Keanu hadn't come to this theater just to watch a play. He had come to breathe life into his own project, to find those subtle nuances of human nature among these ordinary people. And Sarah, unknowingly, was about to become a crucial part of this grand research. Before we continue with this story, tell us where you're watching from in the comments below. If you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, because tomorrow we'll have another special story just for you. As the heavy, creaking theater door opened, the dim lights inside fell upon Keanu. This place, once a stage for grand dreams, was now a rundown venue struggling to survive. Faded posters on the walls were like silent memories of glorious days gone by. The scent of dust in the air spoke of years of accumulation. Keanu slowly made his way to the box office. Behind the counter sat Sarah, a young woman in her late 20s with a tired and sullen expression. Her hair was carelessly tied back. Her makeup seemed smudged. Sarah's eyes, which should have sparkled with dreams of the big Hollywood stage, now reflected only the weariness of endless shifts, monotony, and lost hopes. While tearing tickets for entry, she occasionally glanced at her phone, scrolling through social media, envying glamorous lives. Keanu's ordinary demeanor didn't even register with Sarah. In fact, she gave him a dismissive glance, silently judging his worn clothes and modest posture. She thought, just another bum from who knows where, reinforcing her belief that the theater was steadily declining in quality. As Keanu fumbled slightly with his ticket, perhaps due to his somewhat shy demeanor, Sarah's patience wore thin. Her sharp voice, filled with frustration and exasperation, cut through the quiet. "Come on, hurry up! You're holding up the line. Ridiculous." She rolled her eyes, practically snatching the money and thrusting the ticket abruptly into Keanu's hand. Keanu, without a single change in his expression, quietly took the ticket and moved further inside. Sarah mumbled, "Good grief, how clumsy," behind Keanu, then returned her attention to her phone. Meanwhile, Keanu, as he walked into the auditorium, took note of Sarah's demeanor. In fact, this attitude was a key part of the character he was developing for his new film. A disillusioned soul, burdened by the weight of the world, and thus prone to occasional bursts of anger toward others. Keanu settled into a corner seat in the very back row. Throughout the play, he continued to observe both the performance on stage and the overall operations of the theater, as well as its staff. The creaking of old seats, the passionate yet somewhat amateurish performances of the actors on stage, everything became pieces of a larger picture forming in Keanu's mind. He meticulously recorded his observations in his notebook. He knew he would encounter Sarah again on his way out, but this time he would be more observant. After the play ended, the audience began to trickle out. Keanu once again waited until the very end, trying to avoid drawing attention. Sarah sat bored at the box office, dreaming of finally closing the doors after the last person left. As Keanu passed by, he offered Sarah a small nod, but Sarah merely turned her head, not bothering to look at him. Keanu smiled quietly and disappeared from view. To Sarah, he was just another ordinary, unkempt customer whose identity she didn't know. In Keanu's mind, however, Sarah's character was becoming central to one of his new film's main themes: how judgment and prejudice can blind people. Keanu had realized the immense potential of this small theater and the people working within it. The genuine warmth here felt far more authentic than the artificiality of Hollywood. The next day, Keanu met with his manager. The topic was the investment he planned to make in the theater. He insisted that his identity remain strictly confidential. "This theater has incredible potential," Keanu explained to his manager, "but it needs some care in the right hands, especially that young woman working there, Sarah. She's filled with so much disillusionment, and it reflects in her attitude toward people. I want to give her a chance, and actually, many of them." The manager looked at Keanu with surprise. He was accustomed to Keanu's personal projects, but he had never seen such detailed observation and specific requests before. Keanu had seen the spark hidden within Sarah. All she needed was the right guidance and a ray of hope. Through a confidential agreement, Keanu made a substantial investment in the theater. The theater manager was astonished by this unexpected funding, but immensely grateful. The theater began to modernize, new sound and lighting systems were installed, seats were reupholstered, backstage areas were renovated, and even more budget was allocated for stage sets. Most importantly, staff received better salaries and working conditions improved. Sarah, in particular, received a surprising offer. She was promoted to events coordinator for the theater. This position allowed her to use her creativity and actively participate in the theater's promotion. Sarah was shocked by this unexpected advancement. At first, she approached it with skepticism, wondering, why me? But over time, her attitude toward her work gradually changed. The sullen expression on her face was replaced by a more smiling, more motivated one. She became kinder to customers because the weariness and disappointment within her were slowly fading away. She had no idea about the secret angel behind these developments. She simply thought she was lucky. As months passed, the theater, touched by Keanu's unseen hand, was reborn. It regained popularity among the local community. Sarah was shining in her new position, literally bringing the theater back to life. One evening, Keanu's manager visited the theater director to discuss a new play. The director told Keanu's manager how much the theater had changed and how talented and hardworking Sarah had become. "You wouldn't believe its old state," the director recounted. "Especially Sarah. She was very difficult at first, but now she's the soul of this place. It's as if a magic hand touched it." The manager smiled, reflecting on how far ahead Keanu always saw things. The grand opening night finally arrived. The theater glowed brilliantly. Roses adorned every corner, elegantly dressed people mingled in the hallways, and laughter filled the air. Sarah posed for photographers on the red carpet, shining as the face of the theater's promotion. Her dreams had surpassed all expectations. At the climax of the evening, the theater director took the stage, announcing a major surprise. Whispers rippled through the hall. "I want to thank someone who played a huge part in the rebirth of this theater, someone who believed in us with his vision and generosity," the director declared. "He is among us. Please welcome to the stage, Keanu Reeves." A thunderous round of applause erupted in the hall. Keanu Reeves, in a sleek suit, stepped onto the stage with his charismatic presence. As the spotlights illuminated him, Sarah froze. Her eyes widened in disbelief. Her hand clamped over her mouth. This was the ordinary man she had belittled at the box office just months ago, the one she hadn't recognized. A terrifying wave of shame and regret washed over her. Keanu's eyes swept across the audience, and for a brief moment met Sarah's. Keanu's expression was gentle but carried a profound meaning, as if saying, "I see you." Sarah's heart pounded in her chest. That day she had judged a movie star and one of Hollywood's most humble and respected figures, based solely on his appearance. At the after-opening cocktail party, Sarah's mind raced with a million thoughts. She had to apologize, but how? Her face flushed, her hands began to tremble. Keanu was surrounded by crowds, making him seem unreachable. However, Keanu, as always, found a way to slip through the throng and approached Sarah. A warm smile graced his face. "Sarah, isn't it?" "Congratulations, the theater looks amazing," Keanu said in a gentle voice. Sarah stammered, words caught in her throat. "Mr. Reeves, I am so sorry. That day, I didn't recognize you. I was so rude. Truly, how could I have made such a mistake?" Keanu cut her off, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. "Shh. It's okay, Sarah. We all have bad days, and sometimes the biggest lessons come when we least expect them, don't they?" Sarah's eyes welled up, and she hung her head in shame. But I was so disrespectful to you. You're the one who breathed life into this theater, and Keanu smiled, this time a deeper, more meaningful smile. Look, Sarah, actually, Keanu cleared his throat slightly, lowering his voice. Your attitude that day actually inspired me for a character I was working on. As I was writing about a disillusioned soul at odds with the world, you helped me a great deal. Your inner conflict made my character more realistic. Sarah's eyes widened in astonishment. Learning that even her mistake had served a purpose was a form of redemption for her. She felt both shame and an inexpressible lightness within her. Keanu's words were not just an act of forgiveness, but also a pivotal turning point in her life. From that day on, Sarah learned the deepest lesson of her life. Her perspective toward people, not just Keanu, completely changed. Previously, Sarah had been fixated on appearance and status, but now she saw that every person held a story, a potential within them. She transformed into a more understanding, empathetic, and kind individual. She consistently approached her colleagues at the theater and new arrivals with positivity and support. She became patient with rude people at the box office, knowing she had once made the same mistake, judging that ordinary man. Every morning when she looked in the mirror, she remembered the lesson Keanu had taught her. True value lies not in clothes or titles, but in the depths of one's soul. The theater thrived with Keanu's investment, becoming a significant part of the local cultural scene. New talents were discovered, and forgotten plays were revived. Sarah became an important figure in the theater, no longer just a coordinator, but a leader who inspired young artists. Keanu continued to visit the theater occasionally, always having brief conversations with Sarah, following her growth. A deep bond of respect had formed between them, one that no one else knew about. This bond was far more valuable than the glitter of Hollywood. Sarah had found her purpose in life, to inspire people to see their potential beyond their appearances or statuses. As Sarah walked through the dimly lit corridors of the theater, she began to see every wall, every corner with different eyes. What was once just a workplace, this theater, thanks to Keanu's touch and her own transformation, was now like a home. Every day she approached each person who came to the box office with a changed perspective. Old, young, rich, poor. In each of them, she began to see a potential art lover, a story, a Keanu Reeves. One day, years later, while teaching a small group of students at the theater, she spoke to them, without mentioning Keanu Reeves's name, about the value of true generosity and respect for human dignity. Sometimes in life, and she told them, you receive your greatest lessons from the most unexpected people at the most unexpected moments, and those lessons change you forever. My own life was a stage for such a lesson. As the stage lights dimmed, Sarah smiled, acknowledging the applause. In that moment, she realized how profoundly the disrespect she had shown Keanu in the past now served as a powerful lesson she carried within her. Keanu's silent forgiveness had brought out the best version of herself. Looking out through the theater's glass doors, the city lights sparkled. Everyone had a role on their own stage, and everyone had the potential to touch another's life. For Sarah, the theater was no longer just a stage. It was a laboratory where the human soul was explored. And this story once again showed that Keanu Reeves was much more than just an actor. He was a symbol of how he could change lives with his invisible touches. If this story touched your heart, more inspiring stories await you on our channel. Subscribe to our channel and explore our other videos to look at life and people with different eyes. Remember, true value lies not in what we possess, but in how we treat each other.